Come, let us explore the meditation that turns insight into action. "50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The Buddha taught there are four bases of mindfulness: the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. Therefore, it should come as a little surprise that in the Eightfold Path, we see that we are to direct loving kindness towards intention, towards communication, towards conduct, and towards commerce. You know, loving intention is great, but how are we to know what the right thing to do is, what the right timing is, what the right duration is, no less the right specificity? In fact, pondering this could drive us to drink, figuratively speaking. Fortunately, there's a remarkably simple solution. As I've previously mentioned, the seventh and eighth folds of the path, comprising mindfulness and meditation, function as the dynamo that causes us not only to master the path, not only to master the path rapidly, but to do so effortlessly. Simply by sitting and breathing and noticing and relaxing, approximately once every 12 hours. Simply by doing that, our choices, utterances, and deeds will flow, not from contrived calculations, nor from wild scatteredness, but instead from love's deeply centered spontaneity. Remember, we cannot concentrate our way to love. We cannot contemplate our way to love. But we can notice and relax our way to love. Why? How does that work? Noticing is the gift of the sympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system. Relaxing is the gift of the parasympathetic aspect of that same autonomic nervous system. By passively cooperating with our autonomic nervous system, we gently stimulate the anterior cingulate gyrus, that is the seat of empathy. When we read the biographies of Nobel laureates, we see that even though the man or woman in question spent years mastering the details of their area of expertise, that was not enough. It was not enough to rely exclusively on concentration, contemplation, and recall. They also needed creativity. Perhaps that is why Einstein insisted that creativity was intelligence at play. If we overwork the front of our brain, our genius is going to be hindered. When we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, we're able to access all the regions of our central nervous system and truly practice whole brain thinking. That is the key to academic genius. That is the key to creative genius. That is the key to effortless problem solving. That is the key to being the loving person that our dog already thinks we are. That doesn't guarantee that everybody will always agree with what we did, how we did it, or when we did it. Not everybody agreed with Lao Tzu, the author of the Tao Te Ching. Not everybody agreed with the Buddha. In fact, he endured multiple assassination attempts. And not everybody agreed with the Christ, who was betrayed and then murdered by the state. So if these three great luminaries did not receive universal acclaim, we probably will not either. That can be scary. But if we're fortunate, the next time we sit in meditation, that we can notice that fear as we breathe in, we can relax into that fear as we breathe out, and we will do a very good job of getting out of the way of the inner genius of the 3-pound supercomputer that lives between our ears. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For multiple decades, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. This is Yoda Evening. No, I missed a noun. This is Yoda Monday Evening. Come. Let us meditate like a Jedi. Welcome aboard, everybody who has joined me on the Clock app. I have to use that term because the algorithm can get cranky. Let us begin with the first third of this evening's practice of mindfulness and meditation. What is the essence of mindfulness? To silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we passively notice air enter our nostrils. What is the essence of the practice of meditation? To silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we passively notice air exit our nostrils. Let's call the act of watching and resting in harmony with our breathing a repetition. I invite you now to join me in practicing the Pasadi Mudra or meditation gesture. It's frightfully easy. All we got to do is use the tip of our left, let me adjust the camera. All we got to do is use the tip of our left index finger to support the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Now I think I'm drifting a little bit too much to the left, so I'm going to scoot this way. This gesture It's frightfully useful to gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at the crown of our head. It is also useful at night when we lie down in bed in preparing to sleep. It is useful for our daily sleep. It's also useful for the eventual big sleep of death that comes for us all. It helps us to die peacefully rather than in turmoil. It also helps us when we feel that we are on the precipice of a meltdown. And it also helps us to keep track of our first repetition of watching and resting. Now let us track a dozen repetitions upon the fingers and thumb of our right hand. Every time we inhale and silently and mentally recite the verb watch, let us advance our right thumb across the creases of our fingers. Beginning with our right little finger's lower set of creases and then working our way over to our right index finger's higher set of creases. Together as a team, let us practice now. Now let us count or keep track of our next single repetition by touching the tip of our left thumb to the lower set of creases on our left little finger. Now we can count an additional dozen repetitions. We keep track of our next solitary repetition by advancing our left thumb to its next set of creases. And now that you've got the basic idea of how we count single repetitions and dozen repetitions, let us rest our hands palms up in our lap. That is much more comfortable. We are wired to notice things that are actually or potentially harmful to us. It is part of our survival mechanism. We are also wired to wish that all beings everywhere be protected from those perils. That's effortless and automatic. We do not need to force it. In fact, it works better if we don't. On the other hand, we are wired to notice things that could actually or potentially benefit us. That's also part of our survival mechanism. Consequently, you guessed it, we are wired to wish those good things for all beings everywhere, and we don't have to force it. So the great irony is that when we take a nuanced approach, even dread and desire can fuel even selfish dread and desire can fuel universal compassion and love. Not through the contrivance of various concentrations and contemplations, but simply by sitting and breathing and watching and resting. We get out of our own way and become the Buddhas we were born to be. So we just counted 13 sets, or I should say we just gathered a collection of 13 sets of 13 repetitions, or 13 sets of 1 plus 12 repetitions, depending on however you like to label it. How are we going to keep track of our second collection of 13 sets of 13 repetitions? Very simple. All this time, the tip of our left index finger has been supporting the lower knuckle of our right index finger. We now slide our left index finger until it comes to rest upon the middle knuckle of that same right index finger. And now, just like before, or in a very similar manner, we gather those 13 sets of 13 repetitions each. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques that support meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 14 minutes or so. Having completed the first 2/3 of this evening's meditation, let us now shift gears from the crown chakra to the chest chakra. Let us switch colors from white to teal. Let us shift verbs from watching to feeling. As we passively notice the swelling of our chest, as we passively notice our chest swell with breath, let us silently and mentally recite the verb feel. As we passively notice our chest subtly sink, as gently we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb rest. Let us practicing Sati Mudra or mindfulness gesture is as easy as using the tip of our left middle finger to support the lower knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. you have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's dawn practice of Meditate Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.